Welcome to Koffee Talks with Dan Norton and David Person.
Dan, I've mentioned before on the podcast about a television program that's not even controversial anymore, and I don't think you watch it at all. But just to bring it up one more time, have you ever, even a single time in your life, watched the television show Naked and Afraid?
I don't think so. Is that one of those like put on a desert island ones?
Yes, that's exactly right, Dan. Put on an island with absolutely nothing there to clothe you or keep you away from the elements, except sometimes they'll give you like a specific tool, maybe a fire starter, or maybe you can pick one item like a machete or a sheath or something like that. So, Dan, I would like to ask you, since you're at least aware of the concept of the show, it's very popular. But, Dan, I'm sorry if you're looking to see things you can't, it's all blurred out. So don't get yourself excited or anything. But Dan, if you were to be placed on that island in the middle of nowhere and you need to survive for 21 days, and they said, we're going to let you take your entire Pokemon card collection with you, do you think you could make it?
I'd rather leave the card collection at home. It's much
Dan,
more of a
no,
burden.
that's not an option, Dan. You need the collection as a way of basically warming your heart when the temperature goes to below zeros and freezing and you have nothing left to give outside of the heart. You have nothing left other than your motivation to live for these cards and the companionship they're giving you.
No, I would not survive on a desert island for any length of time. Like 2 days at most, I'd survive on a desert island.
Your Vaporeons wouldn't get you at least even a third day. You don't need protein when you have Vaporeons.
No, I would be absolutely terrible. I have no survival skills.
All right, Dan. Well, you know what? We can't all have the same bucket list. So when I'm on the island and I have my cards and I'm not able to figure out if there's any way I'm going to make it to the end, I'll think about you sitting at home by the warm, cozy fire with the two dogs barking and Laura shoving her plush in your face and you watching some, Bridgerton type of binge watching series and I'll be thinking about you when I'm out there, okay?
All right, sounds good.
All right, Dan, I want you to know something. I got a check. I got a check. Dan, I got a check from Instagram. It's the first time ever. It'll never happen again. I have no idea why it happened, but I got a check for $14. Are you excited for me, Dan?
Oh, is that from like your Mighty Beans post or something that time that did crazy numbers?
No, I don't think it's from anything. I got a few videos, and I think they run it like a promotion every once in a while. And they say, we're going to give you like an extra bonus if you do enough posts or something during this 15-day period.
Okay.
So I did a few posts, and I got a few views, and I got $14. That's
Nice.
gross because after tax, I'm going to gotta be like leave me like 6 or 7.
There you go.
But it was fun to get something that I can put it towards the packs that I'm going to buy that I can open next week. But of course, Dan, I don't open any packs, so that's just a busted dream. Dan, I'd like to ask the audience now, because Dan can't help me here. So all my friends that are watching, or all of you're kind of my friends. I mean, I think of you as friends. Dan is a friend when he's not an enemy, and some of you that don't give me hate mail, you're friends. What should I post on my IG page? Because recently no one looks at anything. I've been doing my XY era card of the day, my black and white era card of the day. Sometimes I do my EX era card of the day. The only post that ever got me good traction, which came from my good friend out of Germany/Israel, and I can't imagine. I don't know. I know him. Forgive me, buddy, because I should say your name right now, and it isn't in my head, and I want to smack myself. But I know you know who you are, and you know I love you, and I just can't. Names are gone because of the constant aging process. So, but anyways, he said post up characters and pages of all the cards of characters. So I post 9 or 18 cards of Eevee or something, and then I get some higher numbers. But notwithstanding higher numbers and single characters, can any of you give me any suggestions for posts that I should be putting up to get more than 100 or 150 or 200 views when I used to get 800, 900, or 1,000? Okay. Dan, I know you have no opinion. Do you want to give me any opinion on that before I move on?
I mean, I would say don't worry about it. Stop looking. As I keep saying with this, stop looking at the numbers. Just keep putting stuff up and it'll do stuff on its own.
Dan, it's easy for you to say because you're making $70 a month and I'm only making $14 every 3 months, okay? So I don't think you have an understanding and empathy for me, a reality check of what it is because I'm so far behind you when it comes to monetizing my identity. You know what, Dan? Oh, I'm Dan Norton and I'm getting close to 9,000 subscribers now. Well, congratulations, buddy. I'm actually very happy for you. Dan, let's talk about something we talked about yesterday, pink and orange cards of Vivillons. It got me to thinking, this was in our podcast yesterday. If you guys haven't watched our podcast, go watch it. It's fun. It's got butterflies in it. They're pretty. They have patterns, or even Dan says patents. Although I think they were patented with different patterns. Dan, is that the only card ever in a booster box that came as a variant in a booster box? You could actually get a pink one or an orange one in a booster box without going to buy a separate product entirely. Is there any other thing like that, Dan?
The only other thing that comes to mind are the A and B cards from Aquapolis and Skyridge. You know, there's a couple of cards that'll have like a number and then A or B out of 150 or whatever it is, or at 147. There's a couple of those, and it's the difference in scanning the dot codes, but there might be some. If there are, there's nothing coming to mind right now, because for people who don't know, David doesn't warn me in advance what questions he's going to ask me, so all of this off the top of my head. But I really can't think of anything else where the booster pack can have multiple different versions of cards under the same number, other than, obviously regular and reverse. Nothing's coming to mind.
I am actually mesmerized by that. I mean, it is so neat to me to think that yesterday I learned that there's this one thing that comes in a booster box in two versions, and it's exactly the same cards except for a color difference. Even with the ones you mentioned with the A's and B's in those sets, like you said, Skyridge or whatever the heck they were back then, they actually are still numbered differently, right? A and B is different. Yeah. So that's just a pretty cool fun fact, which makes it all the more lovable for my Vivillon wannabe collection.
Okay. I will say, I really hope if we go back to Kalos at some point and we have another set focused around the XY era, I would love it if they did some sort of subset of Vivillons where, it's a special numbered set. You know what they did with Arceus and the Arceus set, where there was one for every type? If they did like a 20-card subset of Vivillons with the same artwork but all of the different patterns, and maybe don't make it language exclusive, but have every language being able to get every pattern, but it being a special numbered subset. So you'd have like V1 out of 20, V2 out of 20 for Vivillons, and it would come separate to the set, and you maybe get like one per booster box or something like that. I just think that would look really nice. It would be nice to get all of the patterns into the TCG.
Dan, if I can help you in any way, I think that everyone knows by now that I've got back door entry into the Pokemon company. I have for years. It's how I get all the harder to get cards that I get. And so I'd like to know if you'd like to submit through me a resume, Dan, as a new designer for Pokemon cards. I've got a way to get all that to the right people immediately. And hopefully, see if I can get you a job as a designer. Like, I think you're talking about something like the RC cards, right? Like RC 1 to 24. This would be VV cards 1 to 24. Yeah. And other designs that are right now just being harnessed and cultivated in the throes of your mental brain enigma. Am I correct?
Sure. I think there's only one Westerner who's ever actually worked at the Pokemon company in Japan in terms of card design. That's James Turner. I think he's the only one that's done it.
Did he survive, Dan? Is he still there?
I think he is, yeah. He's actually done card art for one or two cards, I know. Okay. He designed quite a few cards, a few Pokemon, I think, actually, during the Black and White and EX era. I think like he did the Vanillux line, and Mandibuzz, I think, was another one of his. There's a few Pokemon he's designed.
All right, nice. I was thinking about error cards, and we're going to do a lot more on error cards because we've had so much positive feedback on the video, and we've got great responses and actually some guests that want to come on as well. So I'm looking forward to queuing that up for Dan. He's trying to minimize the work involved, and I don't want him to put an inferior product out there that you guys are going to, regret watching. So I'm putting the pressure on him to see if he can finally once again step up to the old Coffee Talks type of podcast and see what we can do. So keep your fingers crossed. I'll see if I can motivate him. But
yeah, it's crazy that they're the same length as the old ones, and I'm doing one a day rather than one a week, and maybe the quality's not there.
Whose fault is that? That is your fault. You are demanding one a day. You are looking at the views. Okay, great. You
Yeah,
know
but
what?
I'm not
No,
starting the podcast by talking about the TV show Naked and Afraid for 5 minutes.
it doesn't matter because you're the one that doesn't understand the fact that we could make that huge in the Pokemon community. All you have, you're out in the survival, you're out in the wilderness, and all you have is your Pokemon cards. Hide what you will, but sometimes MacGyver would be able to turn those things into something that can be very helpful in getting to your extraction point.
Okay.
So, Dan, here's the thing. I don't think you understand anything about the popularity of this hobby because you're like, hey, we're going to go one a day and we got to do this one a day and I got to keep the streak up. I got to keep the views up. But maybe, Dan, it's more about the quality. Maybe it is more about the thumbnails. Maybe it is more about these things that other people are suggesting to you. So, audience, weigh in. You're not going to weigh in, but if you would weigh in, weigh in. I know Steven will weigh in. Craig will weigh in. A few other people will weigh in. Cards and cards and cards and cards and cards and something else, pro, Dan. So, weigh in and let us know. Should Dan slow down on the pace of these videos? Like, I had to wake up from another nap today to do this. That's why you guys see. If you watch the videos, you'll see my eyes blinking one time. No, it would be 10 times. 10 times for every one time that Dan blinks because he's younger and he's not as tired. And I'm forced to do these, okay? It's like slave labor, and I'm an old man right now. So because Dan will not say, I'm going to up the quality, I'm going to up the thumbnails, I'm going to up the picture quality. I just need these done every day, David. You've got to do them every day. It's an obligation. So what do you guys think? Should we slow the pace down and start to really delve deeper into the topics and the quality of these videos? Or should we let Dan get off the hook every once in a while because of the continued excuses he makes for doing them every day?
I think the quality's still fine. Like the one I put out today, the XY one. Law helped me out with the images. Law did most of the images this morning, but I think that one was fine. I think that one went out. I even had to film the extra bit with that sheen foil and stuff. I don't think the quality was bad. I think it was good. I think we did an alright video.
It was a great video. I agree with
Yeah.
you completely. I love the way that you inserted the other video. I love that I got to be jealous more of her Vivillon collection. But then you shouldn't make excuses and say that it shouldn't. If it's going to happen every day, we're going to expect something less. You need to own it, Dan. Like you own your green hair, like you own your lactose intolerance. You need to own these podcasts, my friend. Okay.
All right.
Dan, I've not been a pack opener over the course of my career in the Pokemon industry. And so I started thinking maybe that's the reason errors have not resonated as much with me. I think Craig or somebody said, or one of our viewers said, hey, it's really cool when you're opening packs and you come across these things. And I think that would be very enticing and very, what is it when you get, when you're addicted, very addicting. And so that's what I think maybe a lot of these players, we'll find out more when we put our guests on. But, I wonder, even you, Dan, you've opened a lot of things. Uh, is it kind of cool when you come across those and you think, gosh, that sort of motivates me to try to find another error when I'm opening something?
Yeah, it is. It is nice. I mean, I'm not motivated to open packs by the fact that I might get errors, but it is nice, especially if I'm opening, a case of a set or two cases of a set. I know I've got all of the non-foils, like the commons and uncommons, so I'm only chasing those bigger hits or the last few reverses that I need. If I open a pack and say, as I've had before, all of the uncommons are crimped or all of the uncommons are square cornered or off center or something, like that's great because I was expecting nothing out of those uncommons. Like if I was opening, like if I go and open a Surging Sparks box right now, it depends on the card, right? If I go and I opened a pack and the commons or uncommons were all majorly off center, majorly miscut, something like that, it would be cool. If I opened the secret rare Pikachu and it was crimped or majorly miscut, I'd be gutted because I just want the secret rare Pikachu. These nice little error cards are just really cool when it's something additional that you're just not expecting. When you're not looking for that as your big hit, it's a nice little fancy extra thing.
I posted on my Instagram story today. So by the time this airs tomorrow, it will be one day older. But I posted the first two mega cards, the M cards that I mentioned to you, Blastoise and Venusaur from the XY base set.
Yeah.
And I noticed when I posted that the Venusaur has two black lines right down the center of it. And I went out to look at eBay and look at other copies, and none of them had anything like that on them. So again, those are your big cards. I think it actually looks pretty cool. And again, I'm not such a huge, I don't have huge concern over the fact that that's not makes the card less perfect because they really look cool coming down the center, obviously pack fresh and the rest of it. But I imagine those are the kind of things that some people in the Era community would actually think would take a card like that, because they're probably so rare, since I don't see them out there when I'm looking at any other cards, and makes it actually worth potentially more money. I'm not concerned with the worth. I just think it looks cool. But it is interesting when you give more scrutiny to the viewing of these cards. Sometimes you can find stuff that you never even knew was there before.
Yeah, it had some print lines down it, I think, or some roller mark lines down it, which, yeah, it's to do with, like, I think it's like smudged ink or something in the printing process, or the moving of the sheets process. I think when they're roller lines, it's if there's some ink gets trapped on the actual rollers that send the sheets through the machines, then it leaves some marks down some cards at times.
I was actually tempted to throw it away, Dan. I'm going to be honest with the audience. I saw it when I went to take it out of the binder and post it, and I thought, I'm so disappointed I was going to throw it away. But then I reflected on the fact that my most recent check, as I said to you, was only $14. And I had no way to repurchase it at this point in time because I haven't monetized like my good friend Dan Norton. So I decided to elect it at that point in time to keep it in the collection. And I will safely tuck it back into the binder when I go back upstairs later on tonight at some point. Dan, today's topic is not a topic at all, but you know what? I reserve the right to come up with any topic depending on what I've seen, what I've viewed, what I've reviewed, and how tired I am. And of course, I know you having to do this once a day is making you even as much that tired as me. So that's how it goes. Today, I watched an influencer video. It was a short one, 14, 15 minutes or something. And it was by the person who is the second most negative person in the hobby. And that's all I'm going to say about that, okay? But I know that I actually like most of his videos, a lot of his videos, some of his videos. I'm not a fan of occasionally some of his videos, but he does okay. And he's very loud and very fast paced, and I think at some points loves to hear himself talk, and that's okay because don't we all? I love to hear myself talk. But today's video had to do with the fact that and I'm going to try to articulate this the best I can. But he first started out criticizing somebody who said, there's no such thing as a collector of sealed material. There should never be a collector in Pokemon collecting sealed material because all of that material was designed to be opened. And then he was criticizing the person who made a comment on one of his videos for saying that, because he's like, well, you yourself are saying, I still have a box sealed. And yet the guy is criticizing it, even though he never acknowledged that the guy said he literally just bought the box and he was going to open it. So again, to get the clicks and to get the views, you turn the arguments however you want it. And that was his argument. Oh, you hypocrite and whatever. And then he went on to discuss down the road this concept of, okay, how he doesn't buy anything. I don't buy. I'm so good. And he held up his hand like this and he said, notice there's nothing in my hand because I refuse to pay the prices that it cost me to buy a Destined Rivals or a Japanese Destined Rivals box right now. And I'm not going to be a part of the problem. And I'm not going to whine about the problem and make it worse. And it got me to thinking a few things, Dan. I'm going to start number one with the judgmental BS that all these guys have. Stop judging everybody. And I appreciate that you love to get your clicks and you live by your self-worth comes by how many clicks and whatever you get. But, talk about others not being true. Why don't you stop not being true to yourself? Because you elect not to buy something because it costs more money than you think it should. That doesn't mean someone else shouldn't be okay with buying something even if it costs more than it should. Because maybe they can't get it for less and maybe they want it. That would be something called an indulgence. Maybe there's a time we go to dinners that we really can't afford because there's a special occasion. And you know what? You're not buying that box isn't going to change a darn thing in this hobby. The printing presses and continued printing is the only thing that's going to change the pricing of scalping and other things. But for then to that leading into people saying, well, you keeping things sealed and you don't like what they look like. Oh, and other people come out and say, well, you can empty a whole box and just keep the open box on the counter and that'll look pretty. No, people should be able to collect exactly what it is they want to. And I have sealed collection going all the way back. I love looking at the sealed boxes. I enjoy looking at the sealed boxes and knowing they're original just as much as I enjoy looking at a Surging Sparks card or a Prismatic Evolutions Umbreon card or anything else. I love the colors. I love the crispness. I love the cellophane. I love every bit of it. I love the theme decks. They're sealed. They coordinate beautifully from a color perspective with my boxes. I didn't scalp the boxes. I didn't put them away to make more money. Even if I did, that's fine too. get off my back, get off everybody's back, leave everybody alone. But that's what the world has come to. The world has come to this constant yelling and loudness about judging everyone for everything. And I just can't stand it. I understand why. The nice part is looking at half the comments coming in on those videos are now hate comments to the person who's actually creating the video. They don't care, as you know, Dan, because more engagement creates more monetary chances for that. But for me, watching it and listening to the hypocrisy and saying you shouldn't do something because you're a part of the problem, no. You can have it both ways. You can look at an argument from multiple sides. When I went to law school and they said, guess what? You've learned your whole life that the answer to a question is A or B. Here's the solution. Dan says A and I say B. We have to pick between A and B. No. You can then evolve into other solutions that are C, D, E, F, G, H all the way through. You just have to be creative and find different perspectives to look at things. But I'm really tired of everybody telling everyone else, I don't care about me. I got enough self-esteem and confidence in my collection. I know why I collect what I do and what I do with it. But I feel bad for everybody else who feels like they have to answer to these online bullies who just put out these, large speeches on their soapbox and think that everybody's got to follow them to the ends of the earth because they know more than anybody when they don't know anything.
What part of that would you like my opinion on? Do you want my opinion on the keeping stuff sealed or on
Anything and everything?
videos?
You can talk about online bullying. You can talk about everybody judging everybody else. You can talk about is there such a thing as collecting sealed stuff? Is that a legitimate collection? Sure, anything.
Well, I mean, it definitely is a legitimate collection to collect sealed stuff. There's a lot of people do it, especially people who have the room to display a lot of products. Sealed collections do look really nice when they're on shelves, especially if you curate it. That's why we talked about how ETBs are very, very expensive, because a lot of people will just collect sealed ETBs and have one of each set all lined up. Or there's I sold a box at a card show a while back where it's because I just had an extra one. It was the Best of XY collection from a while back. It was a big black box and it came with like 17 alt art trainers and a couple of booster packs. And that product sealed, I know, went for 3 or 4 times what the value of all the cards were. But it's just because so many people want that sealed product as a nice display piece. And in terms of sealed products, you can look and you can kind of determine what's going to be more valuable sealed just based on how nice it actually looks. How much eye appeal it has as a sealed product. I think that a lot of time people get the negative attention because with modern Pokemon, sealed product is where the investors and the flippers lie. All the people who are flipping 151 or trying to flip Journey Together or Prismatic or whatever, they're not opening packs and selling singles. They're buying the sealed product and immediately relisting the sealed product for 4 or 5 times the price. So people get that negative opinion of, oh, if you're buying sealed product, you're just doing it to flip later. And a lot of people are, but that doesn't mean that the people who are legitimately collecting this sealed stuff and aren't planning on selling it, that doesn't make them any less of legitimate collectors. I don't really collect sealed. There's like a tiny amount of sealed stuff in my collection that I'm going to keep sealed. Most of it's just stuff I haven't opened yet, especially with dead CCGs. There's many, many boxes up there, but totally valid. Cool collections. A lot of stuff looks really nice sealed. It's just more of a space issue.
Yeah, and I think space was actually something that some of the folks actually commented on and alluded to as well. So I think that's a good point. But I also think that this idea that you cannot collect something and have an investment perspective as well is sadly mistaken. I think that years ago I used to put away Spider-Man figures for myself, for the kids and other things. And I've always had that collector's mentality. So I would put away different bobbleheads and different wrestling figures and Furbies. It didn't matter what it was. I love them. I love the concept of them sealed. And sometimes I put them away either for collection and or for investment purposes as well. Why would I not want to have? Why is it not okay for me to have a viewpoint of both? because I think financially it just protects me more. You don't have to just collect something that's not valuable. There are people that collect slash invest in many different things. Like I said, Spider-Man figures or something else. There's another one. What do I have? I have these little pets, these little, mouse that roll on the ground or something. So when I buy that stuff, I might have it there for the grandkids. I might have it there for a collection. Could be those mighty beans. That the biggest post I ever did in Pokemon was on the Pokemon Mighty Beans, the 60 Mighty Beans set. And it got, thousands and thousands of views. I bought that as a collectible because I loved it. Didn't know it was going to gain popularity. Not if it's investable as well. That's just an extra benefit. But there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of a notion of doing something for both. And these people that want to believe and say that you can't, they're just stupid. I'm sorry. They're just opinionated because they are going to say it is A and it's not B. And so if I say A, it's not B, you guys need to listen to me, when it can be A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, depending on the perspective of anybody that's involved and wants to enjoy it in the way that they enjoy it.
Well, it is a bit like we talked about when we talked about the collecting your own way thing. You very much do have to differentiate between what is your collection and what is an investment, because if you're buying something for your collection, you should be fine paying market price, maybe even a bit more than market price if it's a limited item. But if it's something for investment, you really don't want to be paying market price. You want to be getting that 10-15% discount off market price. If it's an investment thing, you're probably buying in bulk a lot more as well. Like if I saw someone's stuff and they were like, oh, I've got one of each ETB ever printed, I would assume that was a collection. If someone showed me and went, I have 50 Prismatic Evolution ETBs, my thought wouldn't be that's a collection. I would never assume that, like, oh, they're just collecting it because it would mean that someone just, their collection was Prismatic Evolution ETBs. Like, I just wouldn't believe that. My thought would always just be, okay, you're planning on reselling these. Even if you're not reselling them now, your plan is never to keep that as your full-time collection. Because for me, the idea is, if it's your collection, your plan is to never sell it. That's where it always lands to me, is the definition of a collection is that it's your plan to not sell that item. And obviously people do, circumstances change. I'm not saying it's the be-all and end-all, but it's your plan. Whereas investment or flipping, your plan is to get rid of that item and just have more money, whether it's long-term or short-term. So I do think they fall into very, very different categories. I think it works out completely differently. Like, I know you have, obviously, your collection of one of each sealed booster box, and I know you also invest in booster boxes, but I know that that's completely different to you. Like, for example, if one set was super, super rare, like, even if a new set comes out and they're very, very hard to get booster boxes, I know you would be willing to pay top dollar for at least one box to get it into your collection, but you're not going to pay crazy inflated prices to put a load of stuff away for investment, because you need to have room to make money on that investment. So how you treat it is hugely different, I think, between collecting and investing. Even though you can be doing both, it's different goals in different areas.
Well, and when you talk, it's so interesting to listen to you, because my feeling is, what a wonderful hobby. What an amazing hobby, Pokemon. Because where else can you do all of those things? You can do all of these things. And that's, I guess, you've crystallized my point here. I appreciate that, Dan. Thank you for your contribution. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. No, not yet. You've crystallized my point, which is, what an amazing hobby, what an amazing franchise when you get to do it all. You can be a collector, you can be an investor, you can actually run a business on the side of all of that, whether or not you're going like Dan to card shows, or you're on eBay, or you're on TCG Player, whatever. And above and beyond all of those things, I say, I'm going to add something else. And I used this word twice already in the last couple of seconds, but hobby. What an amazing hobby. Because what if the hobby for me is none of those things? What if it's just a hobby? What if I just want to open some packs and I'm got to pay higher for my Japanese Destined Rivals booster box. I say that because that's what the person kept saying. I will not buy one of those at the price. And if you do, you're part of the problem. And you're part, no, because for my hobby, I want to open some Japanese packs and I'm willing to indulge a little bit and I'm willing to pay a little bit more. And I'm not making the thing worse and I'm not scalping and I'm not contributing to the scalping because I bought a box. That's what the price was. That's how it is. You've got tariffs and you've got to pay more. I got a letter from Entertainment Earth today because I bought a special toy for my kid. And it's on pre-order and it's part of the Spider-Man franchise. It's not going to come in for 6 months. And they said, you know what? Got bad news for you. It's $100. It's what you paid, and now it's $109, and there's nothing you can do. That's tariffs, buddy. So if you want it, leave it there, and if not, tell us, we'll cancel it. Well, what do? Do I use my influencers thing and go, uh-oh, I'm not going to pay the $9 because I'm not going to contribute to the tariffs and what's going on? It's just stupidity. Wake up, everybody, wake up. Don't follow the herd mentality. This is a wonderful hobby because of all the things you can do. If I want to open some packs, because that's the hobby to me, how fantastic. And leave everybody alone to whatever it is they want to do. I bought some boxes for my collection. The only thing I disagree with Dan, he said one thing, and I don't disagree with Dan on this necessarily, but a lot of people would. He said a moment ago that a collection is not something you plan on ever selling. And I understand that thinking because that's how he and I are. But I think that some people actually feel like if they do complete an actual collection goal, they're not unafraid to sell that, whatever they did, and then start something else. It's not everybody. I would say it's in the minority of collectors, but I also understand that mentality. But I was doing boxes. I have one of every sealed box in my collection, one of every theme deck. And then I bought some extra boxes for investment. Those are now gone. I've sold them over the course of this year because I wanted to take advantage of trying to set myself and my family up for retirement. And I then have now got my stuff in the collection, still not selling. I bought Prismatic Evolutions for investment, paid $106 a box. That's my choice. Maybe it was a horrible mistake. I don't know. I won't know for a long time. I don't get a chance to get it at $40 or $50 or $60. It's just a different thing I do. Also have a side business. People contact me. Can I buy this from you? Can I buy that from you? Sure, if I have it, absolutely. Love helping people out any way that I can. So I love all facets, and I am not going to sit there and judge other people for whatever facet they choose to enjoy in the hobby.
Speaking of you saying you have every booster box, do you still need a non-enhanced Journey Together, or did you manage to get one?
I can't hear a word that you're saying, but if I have every single booster. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you talking about the new one, Journey Together, or not?
Yes. Did you ever manage to get a not enhanced booster box? Okay.
No,
So
I do not have those.
if anyone's watching and is able to get a hold of a not enhanced booster box from Journey Together, I know that at least in the US and Canada, they existed in the pre-release kits. So the big sealed kit, you'd get your 10 pre-release boxes or build and battle kits, and you'd get a sealed booster box in there. Those I know were non-enhanced. Potentially overseas, I don't know if Europe has some non-enhanced booster boxes in their stores. But if you're in a place where you can get a non-enhanced booster box, reach out to me or Dave, because Dave does still need one of those.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Thanks.
Yeah, that was just something I was thinking of when you were saying about every booster box.
Yes, that would definitely make it every booster box. So
Yeah.
so again, I didn't plan. I mean, I guess I just heard the post. I heard the podcast. The ranting and raving are very frustrating because person starts running circles around in their own logic, and someone like me is like, I'm hearing through all the baloney. And I just wanted to bring it up. I love people's comments. Those drama videos get 500 comments. We get 16, and 12 of them are from Steven. And that's okay because we love you guys, everybody that is watching in comments, but please feel free to engage in any way that you will. And, I do think, I know that I'm not doing this for drama. I'm doing this because I'm genuinely getting mad about stuff when it can affect the hobby by driving people away because they watch this stuff, they watch the drama, and they don't know what to make of it. Like they start thinking, am I doing something wrong? And you're not. You know what? I'm sorry. Even the scalpers aren't doing something wrong because it's American capitalism, and they're able to do whatever they want. It's their money, it's their time, it's their business. You know, we were in a mall the other night. We went to Vegas, watched a magician show. David Blaine, you guys know the guy that was 40 days out in the cold and ice and that kind of stuff. Well, now what he's doing is he's swallowing frogs. So he actually has a bunch of frogs in his stomach and he just regurgitates them up when the thing goes on. It's pretty incredible. If you like that kind of stuff, or you like to stick a ice pick through your skin. But when we walk through certain stores, they have handmade, custom-made jackets. Okay, a custom-made jacket there at Golden Goose, $25,000. Is that overpriced? Is anybody going to pay that? Is that ridiculous? Is that paying a scalper's fee? Is it worth the time and effort? I don't know. I'm not going to buy it, but is somebody else going to buy it? Sure. Should I put them down because they want to spend their money on that purchase? No, I don't think I should, but then that's just me.
Yeah, it's like the thing that people say about card games and stuff. There's two ways to approach value. Either you have to go by market value and things are worth what people are willing to pay, or none of it's worth anything. Because in the practical sense, none of the cards are worth anything. None of them have any practical real life value. They're not essentials. If you look at the actual raw components of how much it costs to make the cards, every card that we've got, from a common from Journey Together up to the trophy cards, cost between 1 and like 3 cents or something to actually manufacture. I mean, maybe the trophy cards cost a little bit more because you pay more when you're printing less copies of a card, I guess, just in manufacturing costs. But none of them are worth anything in that sense. So if you go by that, you have to buy, if you want them to have value, you have to buy into the idea of market value. And you know what? I get it. I get why people hate the scalpers. I get why people hate it when stuff gets bought out and the price artificially raised, but that's what it is. I mean, currently, Journey Together is falling in price, and we're seeing these people who did these buyouts, they're now having to sell at way lower than they wanted to. Some of them are getting close to selling for what they paid again. And that's just the way it is, because there weren't enough people willing to buy at that inflated price for all of these resellers to sell to them. So the prices come back down. Whereas with Prismatic and stuff, there were enough people willing to buy at that higher price. That's just the way it is. And yeah, I would love to be able to go into a store. I would love for every Pokemon set to be printed so much that I could buy as much of it as I wanted at MSRP. I would love it if shelves were always full of Prismatic, but it's not the way it is. You know, genuinely, I would love it if every Pokemon booster pack was printed to hell. I would love it if no booster pack sets were rare. I like rare stuff in the sense of the promos, you know, the tournament stuff, the staff stuff, even the higher level stuff, the trophy cards. That's the nice chase. The booster packs, I would love it if nothing was valuable. I would love it if it was all cheap and easy to get, but it's not the way it is. You know, there's different ways for people to engage with the hobby or with collecting Pokemon. I hate saying the term the hobby, but yeah,
but it is the hobby. And so
yeah, it's
I'll summarize with this, and I'll say this. Mr. Influencer, you don't have to buy anything you don't want. You should do whatever makes you happy. If spending that extra money more than you think something is worth because it's increased in price more than MSRP and you don't want it, don't buy it. But don't go out there and try to make the other people feel bad because they choose to spend their money on whatever they want. And don't say that's not what you're trying to do, because that's exactly what you're trying to do. You're trying to stick everybody on the straight and narrow road of your particular narrative. And being open-minded, we are in a country right now where no one is open-minded. Half this country is completely not open-minded. It's their way or the highway. And it's very difficult for other people to try to exist in that world. And it's just easy when you have your neighborhood and you walk from door to door to be able to get along with people in whatever aspect that entails. And I think we're better people and better off if we can figure out a way to try to make that happen, despite our difference of opinions at different times. So that's kind of my synopsis on all of this. You know what? There was recently a sale. So the latest thing that you can scalp on now is Cheetos, right, Dan? You can buy a Cheeto Zard And I think that someone recently spent, I don't know, 80, 90 grand, $100,000 or something like that, from what I'm told,
On a Cheeto that looked like
on a
Charizard.
Cheeto that looks like a Charizard. So, you know what? If they're happy with that purchase, more power to them. They had the financial resources. They loved what it was. They're going to display it proudly and prominently. And I'm not going to sit there and try to put them down and say that they've now made the hobby even worse than it was. I am a person that believes folks can do and should do what they want within the framework of the law. And these other folks, I don't need to put myself in a box that someone else says I need to be in. So, and then we know you're not, because of your hair. We know you create your own boxes as well.
Yeah. I was saying, great point saying within the law, because nothing of what we said applies to people who make counterfeit cards. You can all go and die. Because what you're doing is breaking the law and is illegal. Ooh, it's a custom. I don't care. Go away. Stop making fake cards. Like, oh no, but if I don't, then I won't have this card in my collection. If I don't make a fake copy and put it in my binder and then sell the fake copy to people, well, you still don't have it. Stop making fake cards.
Yeah,
None of this applies to you. You are making things worse.
And to that point, I've actually been told by some friends of mine in the hobby across the world that in certain countries now, the quality of the fakes is so good that you literally can't tell the difference. So, in particular, China, the quality of the fakes that they are now printing, not only today but going backwards to what is out there, literally people cannot distinguish them anymore. So we are hopefully fortunate that in this part of the world, maybe Japan, at least to this point, although notwithstanding the play test and all of that controversy, that we are not to the point of where the quality of the fakes is so strong that you can't tell them apart. So yes, I always say in anything in life, within the allowable limits of the law. That's critically important. If you're breaking the law, then you are in a whole different world than what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, it's been the way for a long time with old Magic cards where the fakes are so good that basically no store is going to buy the first few sets without actually getting out the jeweler's loop and really like the 100 times magnification lenses to look at the rosette patterns in the printing. You know, that's how good fakes are for the oldest sets of Magic cards. So, of course, the oldest sets of Magic cards, they were the first trading card game pieces ever printed, so they weren't super high production quality compared to what you think of today. So there's a lot of stringent checks people have had to go through on those, because for the naked eye, you often can't tell the fakes apart.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I threw nothing on you today. It's like a Seinfeld episode where we discussed absolutely nothing, but it was fun. It was a chance for us to engage together like I love to do in our audience. But please, guys, number one, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Number two, if you have any comments, anything you'd like to add, and anything we should be talking about that you'd like to hear more of on these Coffee Talks, let us know. Number three, is there anything I should be posting on Instagram so I can, I need to make more than $14 so I can start opening up packs and actually look for error cards. And number four, I have nothing else except I'm done.
Yep. I like that when we came into this, you told me this was going to be our shortest one ever because you had nothing to talk about. 45 minutes, once again. Brilliant.
Dan, I'm a pathological liar, but the good news is that's not illegal.
Great. All right. Well, we will hopefully see you guys tomorrow. If it's not us, it'll be me with something. See you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Coffee Talks with Dan Norton and David Person, with music by More Than Never and artwork by Lore Norton. A special thanks to all our Patreon members. Join us again next time.
But they don't want you to.